topic. Hi everybody. Hi everybody. Okay, so this is the first time I've done a live at this hour. As you know, as you already said, the Singapore. I'm in Singapore, so it's coming midnight now.
Oh wow. Well, I appreciate you accommodating.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, guys, everybody who joined in, thank you. We are in this very long series of mine, which is the first digital dollar project that I'm running from January to June this year. What this project involves is I get to invite and talk to 20 different solopreneurs, ask them their journey of them getting their first digital dollar. It is very, very interesting how you get to see each of them, their offers, their processes, their journey, the struggles, the different lessons learned that they can give us. So today I have here with me Landon. He's a very interesting guy. One of the first few newsletter I subscribed to when I first joined Substack about 2 years ago. All right. So Landon runs a Substack newsletter with over 10,000 subscribers, over 20,000 followers. If you guys have been Substack long enough, you know your follower count is always about double of your subscribers, and that's okay, right? So a very interesting thing is his tagline is a quiet rebellion against hustle culture. So this is something very interesting. Um, he also says something that really caught my attention. It is you can't copy paste someone else's blueprint and expect their results. The most important factor is that in your business is you, right? So I fully agree with this. I also talk about this a lot of times. Success couldn't be 100% duplicated in this solopreneur concept. All right, so he's shifting the place to the player. Right, so this is Landon. I'm very glad that he can join us today. As we talk, more people will stroll in, but that's okay. If you come in and then you realize that you miss some of the things, feel free. Don't worry because you just need to stay tuned. I'll always send the recording of this live within the next 24 hours. All right. So welcome Landon to the first digital dollar project. Um, we, I give you the floor to you to do some self intro.
Sounds good. Sounds good. It's been so good to be a part of the project. I'm really grateful and honored that you reached out. And I love sharing the message, especially with new solopreneurs, new creators, new entrepreneurs. I just have a real big soft spot for people getting into this line of work because it's very glorified online when we're scrolling the feed and we're scrolling Instagram and everybody's showing their highlight reel. It it's really sexy, and when you get into it and you've been in it for a while, you realize it's not quite as sexy as people make it seem. So I have a soft spot for really trying to lend a hand to people kind of coming up in this game, sharing my story because my story was never the overnight success that I saw when I kind of came into this line of work. So when you reached out about the project, I was really happy to be a part of it. So thank you so much, and I'm really excited to chat today.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned something about the overnight success. Um, I think none of us has overnight success at all. Right. I believe, I mean, for those of you who listen to most of my live or catch out of the posts from the previous contributors, you realize that all of them went through a long period of uncertainty. And I think that this is very important that I'm trying to uh, display in this project is that um, while a lot of people, like what you mentioned, a lot of people over glorify everybody is earning 10K a month, 20K a month, 50K a month, then but no one talks about the first dollar that they earn, because that is the one uh, that creates the truly the mindset change. I'm sure you agree with me. Before you earn the first digital dollar, like every day you're talking, am I doing it on the right path? Should I give up? When do I give up? But the moment you earn the first digital dollar, could be just like some of the contributor 14 cents. But the moment they earn something, the whole mindset change, because then they realize, oh, this is possible, or what else is possible. Right. I'm sure you went through that stage. Can you share with us some of your mindset that went
Yeah,
through?
totally. So my kind of entrepreneurial journey started, man, it's probably like mid to late 2000s in terms of like between 2005 and 2008. I've pretty much worked like one or two regular jobs. Like I worked at Booster Juice for a little bit and then I was just pretty much running my own business. So I was started as kind of like a freelance web designer. So when I'm thinking about like my first online dollar, I wanted to really focus on kind of like the digital product side of things. So like the leveraged dollar as opposed to the exchanging time for services, time for money, because I had been doing that for a little while. And that kind of got started slowly for building a website for my father and then for like, a friend of the family. And then it started to kind of build from there. And it was probably around 2016 that my paradigm really shifted when it came to everything in this online space. It was the first time I had been, reading blogs and I was aware of, paid advertising and AdSense and affiliate marketing in some way, shape, or form. I worked with some people that were making millions of dollars, kind of like doing e-commerce back in the days where you would get on like an affiliate network and then you would have all of these affiliates just promoting your product for you and it was like really easy back in the days when like Oprah and Dr. Oz were suing people because they would have you know like green coffee bean or whatever raspberry ketones on like the Dr. Oz show. And then you would have all of these people go and create these products featuring that using as seen on Dr. Oz or Oprah. That was like, probably like the mid to like 2012 to 2018, somewhere in there. Um, so I kind of knew that there was a lot of money to be made online, but I started to get opened up to this world of like masterminds and online courses in around 2016, and that's when I got into the world of ClickFunnels and my world kind of shifted because I had my first mentor and I realized that there was this information at our fingertips. It was like anything we want to learn, we can learn through either a course, a YouTube video, or hiring somebody that can teach it to us. And it just really wasn't a world that I had completely immersed myself into before that. So it just totally shifted my outlook. Like I had made money technically online, if we're being honest. Like I would say building websites for people and people coming from SEO would be making money online. But I had never made money from courses.
Mm,
I had tried some like Google AdSense websites and blogs that made no money. I had had a bunch of little failed attempts of like trying to do little things like that. I white labeled a supplement. It was called Goliath Nitric Oxide way back when, opened up an LLC in the US, created the website and got it on the affiliate networks and sold zero products. That was like a $10,000 waste of money there. But it was this entrance into this world of like Russell Brunson, ClickFunnels, that I really started to see people just making what seemed like ridiculous amounts of money
mm,
online.
yeah.
And they made it look so easy. So it was like very enticing to be like, I need to try this. I need to do this because I want this for myself. And that was probably, in the article I wrote, is in this kind of like 2016 to 2019 is like really when I started to immerse myself into this world, start looking at mentors, start taking courses. And then it was around 2018 to 2019 when I was like, okay, now is like the time to like try and like create my own thing as a product that at the time I thought was going to make me a millionaire. I
Yeah.
was a little naive at the time though.
Yeah. And grab yourself a few, grab yourself a membership inside Comic Club.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to be able to go live and have the award behind me, like the big plaque that I was, the two Comma Club award winner. But yeah, those days didn't happen.
Okay. Yeah. So, like when before we go live, I also mentioned that, in fact, my first uh stint into when I become a partial solopreneur back in the days, and then I think the first um few things that I did is I got into ClickFunnels as well,
Mhm.
right? And then I signed up for the account. I got into the course. I read the two books, and then after the third book, and then I have all the T-shirt and everything. Yeah. Then I realized that, okay. So, but to be fair, I think Russell Brunson teaches me a lot of things beyond just using his platform, right? He teaches me how to uh, craft very nice copy, very influential, persuasive copy. That was before AI came along, right? So back then we learned a lot about how to craft a copy, how to design lead magnet page, stuff like that. Stuff that now we can do easily with AI, right? So I think the skill set is something that you and I we can bring along with us for a long time. Tell us what's the uh, one most critical lesson that you learned from ClickFunnels?
You know, it took me, I think I read Expert Secrets 3 times, 3 or 4 times before things kind of started to click. Um, I think the biggest lesson I take from the entrance into that world was just a fundamental understanding of kind of like the components of what it takes to create success online. So, okay, you need an offer, you need an audience to be able to sell it to. It gave a really good fundamental understanding of like the different types of business models, understanding high ticket offers that are sold on the back end of a webinar, what a group coaching program is, that can be sold for two, five, $10,000, understanding what a low ticket funnel is, the value of lead magnets and how to create a funnel to get somebody to opt in. So even though I wasn't creating the success for myself that I wanted, I was creating a lot of like fundamental building blocks of my knowledge base that I think have really served me moving forward.
Mm,
I've simplified how I deploy all of those learnings today. But at the time, I think when I look back, it was needed because, I took probably over the span of about 2 years, 23 courses. I went back, so it was really fun for this project. I, like, went deep into, like, my Google Drive and my Dropbox and my Stripe account to really go back into that time, and it was that span of time, between stuff on Facebook ads, stuff on copywriting, stuff on funnels, the book site. Like it was probably 23 even, and some of those were high ticket programs like hiring mentors to $5,000 programs, 23 of them over a span of about 2 years. And that just really opened my eyes to the possibilities. And I think that perspective shift for me was really big. It overcame a lot of like limiting beliefs of just like I didn't know what I didn't know. And now this kind of door opened and I was like, oh, there's a lot of things that can happen. It took me a long time to make them happen, like 10 years. But I think for people getting into this, it is really important to just kind of understand what the possibilities are. We have to make it our own, but I just think that perspective shift and understanding all of the fundamental things that kind of go into it is really important, even if they're not being deployed and leveraged today. So important, and something I predict over the next couple years. And with the addition of AI, because we now have this tool that can kind of be a collaborator, a strategist for us is this convergence of creators and operators. So we used to have people that would just create content,
Yep.
but they didn't really know how to make money. They didn't know what a funnel was. They didn't know that they could create a program or a course. They were like just in there. They're kind of like from the blogging days. They're just trying to get ad revenue from visitors. And then we had all of these kind of like operators, like the copywriters and the marketers and all of these people that knew what was needed, but they still didn't have that. They needed somebody with an offer. They needed someone with a product, with an audience to be able to sell. So all of those operators were always behind the scenes. They were always working for somebody like yourself. So you have this knowledge, and then you have this operator that's helping you deploy this knowledge. I think these tools we have now are kind of bringing it together to create these creator operators, to where now somebody that has an audience, is a creator, can start to deploy and become an operator because you can talk to ChatGPT and it can tell you what's required. So I think that was the biggest shift for me, was just understanding what was required to create success.
Mm.
Really kind of set me down this path of like mastering a whole bunch of different skill sets to bring me to where I am today. So it's a very long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah, I can fully understand where you're coming from because like I as for me, my biggest takeaway is I mean, if I can rank them, the number one biggest takeaway for me after I spend thousands of dollars is just value ladder for me.
Yeah.
Right. So from there I learned value ladder. I learned how to stack them. I learned upsell. And then of course later on, like Alex Hermosi comes in, and then you fully understand what he's talking about, his concepts of money models and stuff like that. And then and if I look back and then I look at what I'm doing now, I am every day stacking up my value ladder and then creating offers and then thinking how my offers link from my lead magnet to the next upsell to the next and then to the high ticket offers. And I think without the all the learnings that you and I we both went through, we will not be as efficient
Yeah.
or as or we will not be able to apply what AI, because AI can throw all this value ladder at any of us nowadays, right? But then if without the correct knowledge and the correct skill sets to link them up together, then a lot of people find that their offers become very uh, dis- misaligned.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah, I
I believe.
totally agree. It's one of the fundamental things when it comes to these technologies like AI, if you're in Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, is you need to know what to ask. So that's where everybody was really hot on, prompt engineering, because the better you can prompt
Because
this
they can
technology.
just copy and paste.
Exactly. So, but when it comes down to it, it's like, yeah, like, yes, I don't think prompt engineers are going to be as relevant in 2 years from now, because the platforms want to be able to do that for you. But when you come into it and you understand that you need a really good offer, you know that you need a funnel, you know that you need a sales sequence or an upsell, you can ask the questions to the system. You could likely get there if you're willing and patient enough to kind of go back and forth with it. But I agree. So I think the value ladder was really important. I think for me, some of those concepts didn't really resonate fully for time down the road. Just kind of like you said, we started to get people like Alex Hormozy talking about the concepts, and then like maybe it was when Hormozy said it, it clicked.
Yeah,
Or, for me, I was really into Steve Larson, who was a part of ClickFunnels and then went off to do his own business. He ran the One Funnel Away challenge when I did that years ago. In just those concepts of understanding, you know, how to structure an upsell being like the next logical problem that they're going to foresee, to create something that's like an immediate yes, understanding the power of like LTV, like you were saying, the value ladder, understanding LTV, you don't necessarily need more customers if you can, make more from the customers you already have. those concepts have also, for the work that I do with paid advertising and helping people with coaching programs scale, I bring all of that into the work I do every single day. And it started pretty much with my exposure into ClickFunnels.
Mm. Yeah. So it is really interesting because I recall I for those of you who read the Landon's post, which was posted on Tuesday, after Landon's all his learning in ClickFunnels and creating this value ladder, his I think it's 4 levels offers, he made a grand total of $325.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us more about the sales.
Yeah. So it actually, I didn't actually think I made $300. I thought I made like seven. But when I like went back into my Stripe, because I was like, I want to be honest, I want to make sure I've got the information correct. It was a self liquidating offer funnel. So this was kind of like one of the big things. You have a lead magnet to get cheap leads. Then after they opt in, you're presenting them with an offer, which is kind of like your core offer, usually low ticket so that you can get a quick yes. And then when they're purchasing that, there's an order bump so that you can increase your LTV. And then you have a couple upsells afterwards. So I built this massive
So this
funnel.
whole thing you build it inside ClickFunnels, right?
Yeah, so this is built
Yeah.
inside of ClickFunnels. Yeah, so it
Yes.
was everything was in ClickFunnels at that time.
Yeah.
So the funnels, the payment processing, like the checkouts, as well as like the member area to deliver the product was using ClickFunnels then as well. And so this was, the lead magnet, the order bump, the core offer, and two upsells. So I had five products, and like the upsells were like full courses, like multiple modules, worksheets, and then designed the funnel, built it all out. This took months of work. It took thousands of dollars to pay like designers to get the e-covers to represent the products and stuff like that. And I just didn't.
And you also do the ads, right? The
Yes, and
full
and, and
thing.
I ran and I
The
ran
full thing,
ads
right?
to sell it. Yeah, because at the time, right at the time, people were like, you put $1 in and get 10 back with Facebook ads to these funnels,
Yeah.
right? And that was the what everybody was talking about. It was like
Yeah.
10x
That was the
ROAS.
gist of the whole thing.
Yeah, and that was definitely not what I saw. I spent, over $1,000 on Facebook ads, and I got, two sales. It was $300 because one person bought one of the upsells, but then it was just nothing after that. There was no sales, no attention, and I learned a very valuable lesson at that time, which is it doesn't matter what you have if you have nobody to sell it to.
Yep.
And
And I think this is the key.
that's why I used Facebook ads, because I didn't have an audience to sell it to. I didn't have a list. I didn't have an Instagram following. So that didn't generate any sales. So I started to run the ads because I was like, okay, well, if you don't have the audience, you buy the audience. And then I learned that, well, if you don't have a good offer, it doesn't matter if you have traffic because no one's going to buy it. So I was like, okay, is very, very good learnings very early on. Um, so now I try and break it down into like very simply, we need something to sell and we need someone to sell it to, or like the fundamental components of the business. And it can take a lot of different shapes and forms. But I learned the lesson on both sides. I learned it when I created something and had no one to sell it to. And then I learned it when I was trying to sell something that nobody wanted. And I was like, okay, this was
Yeah.
a costly lesson, but it was a very valuable one.
Yeah, I remember always telling my community members that this there's this very important concept that everybody must understand is that um I I think it's more important to have someone to sell than to have a product that can sell.
I completely agree. I completely agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
This way, yeah.
I've seen so many people. I mean, not to mention any names. I've seen so many influencers, people with huge following selling a product, and then I can remember there was when I first started, I bought this product from this very big name. Um, because he was selling because back then I was creating Notion templates, so I want to learn how to do it, and then I paid a few $100 for this this super important Bible that he's selling, and then everybody is saying, "Wow, the moment you buy and then you learn, you can earn thousands of dollars with it." And then I bought it, and then when I open up, my first reaction is, "Huh, is that all?"
That's pretty much my reaction when I buy most courses. Yeah.
Right? So then I at that moment I realized that, oh, uh, okay, so if you have, I'm not trying to say that we should create mediocre products, but then what I'm trying to say is that it's far more important to have a huge audience. I mean, it doesn't have to be huge, but then a sizable captive audience. Those that audience that are aligned with your beliefs and values. It's far more important to have audience or people, a group of people to sell to, because then you can generate sales as compared to if you spend all your energy creating a product, and then when you try to say, "Hey, I'm selling this," and then nobody is looking at you. So
Yeah, I
that
completely
was
agree. Yeah, because when it comes down to it, we for everybody listening, you may have heard people talking about like a trust recession right now, but trust has been a vital part of selling for years. So that's kind of how I view brand. When I'm talking about building a brand, I'm talking about building an audience that trusts you. And when you have people that trust you and you have built rapport with them, you don't need as strong of an offer. You don't need super persuasive copy, countdown timers, and urgency, and because they trust you. So when I owned a gym, my wife and I owned a gym for a number of years, a private gym. We had about 8 trainers that worked for us, and we had this community, this thriving community. We would run a boot camp, and our core members would all sign up. We would get t-shirts and our core members would all buy them. We would get protein powder and all our core members would buy them because they were a part of our community and they trusted us. It's the same thing when we go into the online space. It's much more difficult to build a big audience that trusts you, that likes you, that when they get the email that you're live with Ann Fernie, that they're clicking to watch that live. And when you launch a new thing, they're clicking and they're checking it out because they're just wanting to buy from you. That makes it so that you don't need the best offer in the world. I see this quite often in the market. I always use Tony Robbins as an example, probably the most widely known person in personal development. When I see his ads online, I personally think that they're terrible. It's like a big word that's like rise or but like what is like you're not telling me anything that you do. But the people that are inside of the Tony Robbins world will click on that ad and explore what that offer is, and they will buy because it's Tony Robbins.
yeah. It
And
just
when
means
you
his face on the ad.
exactly. And when you see something similar offered by Tony Robbins and something similar offered by somebody with like 7 followers on Instagram, you're gonna buy from Tony Robbins because of his brand and authority in the market. So I agree with you completely. I've worked with a lot of really great like offer people and direct response copywriters that believe all you need is a good offer. I disagree. I think that if you have a good enough brand, the offer equation becomes very simple. A
Yeah,
great offer with a great brand creates amazing synergy, but I think it's way harder to build that audience than it is to create a product. But a lot of people default into creation because I think it's a little bit easier. It's safer. It's safer to be like, I'm going to build this next thing than it is to be like, I'm going to show my face going live every
yeah,
single day, build trust with my audience. Cause
yeah.
that's scary.
I think the word for me is controllable, because
Yes.
the, because if I focused on just creating your product, I can control
Uh-huh.
how I shape the product. So it becomes something that I can foresee, I can project.
Yeah.
But when we talk about uh, building a captive audience, it is something that is very difficult to control. I cannot project, and uh, to be honest, nobody can project at all. I mean,
Mhm.
we see so many people say how to create a viral notes, for example. But if any one of you see my life before, I always say there's no such thing as viral notes. There's only you post enough to get one of them viral.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all. There's no science to it, right? And you can't guarantee viral. You can't guarantee at all,
Yep.
right? You can only say I post enough or I see enough stats to allow me to create something that can potentially be viral based on certain stats and certain followings. Yeah, so a lot of all these are not controllable. Therefore, people will default into the digital product creation because when I first started, I also I'm obsessed with digital product creation. Right, like you, when I started my ClickFunnels stint, I also spent months creating because I in my mind I say, oh, must have this gigantic value ladder. And then yes, I made less than $50
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. Right. So I think but the lessons learned is very important. And please don't get me wrong. Uh Product and audience are equally important. But then please for me, at least for me, I speak for myself. I believe that I would like to now having a hindsight looking back, I would like to spend more effort on audience building as compared to product creation.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Right?
agree. I agree. And that's
Yeah.
why my advice for so many people is not usually what they want to hear. I've worked with a lot of people, especially in my early days when I had the gym. I worked as a business coach for a lot of, fitness professionals, nutrition coaches, personal trainers wanting to build an online business. And they would ask, like, they wanted to know, like, what do I need to create? What offer should I create? What product should I create? And I would really encourage people to just like, you just got to start. Like, until you start having conversations with people, you don't know what anybody wants. Until you launch something and see what works, you don't know what people are going to want. We need to get into this feedback loop because in the absence of feedback, we're just guessing. And guessing doesn't really get anything selling. So just like you said, we don't know if a note is going to go viral, especially on Substack, which just seems like the most random algorithm ever. You know,
Yes.
I have test accounts where so like I will just copy and paste one of my viral notes onto a test account and I'll get 0 likes.
Yep.
So like it's not just that, it's your audience and timing and random and what they decided to push that day. But also I try and when I'm trying to share like here's what helped me go viral, it's like these are the templates that I used. This is what's worked best for me. But I never make any promises for people anymore because of that, because we
Yes.
can't control it. You can't control if this launch is going to work. Especially like the economy today, the world we live in isn't the same world we lived in 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when a lot of these people were making 10x revenue, 10x ROI, you running Facebook ads to funnels. So I pull back and just try and share my process and help guide people to take quicker action to get feedback to improve. Because I've probably gone viral maybe 15 times on Substack, but I've also posted probably upwards of like 2,000 or more notes.
Yeah.
And I've posted over about maybe 150 articles. So it's like, yeah, I've gone viral, but I've also had
You've done your fair share.
over 1,000 that got like 3 likes. So it's
Yep.
like it's a volume game. Like I know, yes, we want to directionally get better, but at the same time, we don't want to create content just for virality's sake.
Correct. I think just we really need to just focus on creating contents to serve the certain purpose that we state in our respective newsletter. I think that's the key thing, rather than just keep focusing on how can I go viral today.
Yeah.
I think going viral is so much more difficult to control rather than you just provide value in your content. I
Yeah,
think that's
like
the easy one.
like with time, I'm a firm believer that if we stay consistent with long enough for long enough, our curiosity is going to lead us to seeking improvement. Consistency alone isn't enough. Well, yes, we can all agree on that. Like if you just post crap consistently, it's not going to grow. But I'm a believer that if you're posting every day, in 3 months from now, you're going to be like, I want to try and work on better headlines, or I want to try and work on better
Yep.
hooks. I believe that that's going to come. But there are people that have mastered going viral. Usually it's with short form video, people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Brendan Kane. There's other people that they've really kind of mastered the psychological triggers, the edits, the formats, the hooks that work. There's a psychologist that I follow. She visually describes what she's doing in her videos, and she gets 1 million views on almost every one of her reels. But these people spend 8 to 10 hours a day studying and testing viral content. So we have to keep that in perspective of like, I spend 1 hour a week creating content, not 10 hours a day creating content. I can't expect to achieve what they're achieving. They've just tested so many times that they understand what works. We need to put in our own repetitions to improve. But that viral content, it's not, it's a blend of art and science. And something I think is not really talked about is there are certain fundamentals of building an audience online and certain fundamentals of viral content, especially in video or audio form, that are kind of intangible. There are things, like you said, they're outside of our control. So if we have, there's a coach, an individual that I used to follow. I was in one of his programs. I helped him run ads. He helps coach men, and he's in like the personal development space. He's kind of an alpha, very masculine, and kind of helps as kind of like the raw, like let's create masculine alpha men. Like I didn't like the message, but he is, in his like late 40s. He's muscular. He's good looking. He has a full head of hair. He has a beautiful wife. He has beautiful children, and he has a very expensive car and a very big house. He has all of these components that when you see him, society is like, that's who we're striving to be. When you just look at that person of like, he's beautiful, he's got a full head of hair, people like me are like, man, I wish I had hair. Or like, I wish my body looked like that. I wish my partner looked like that. But those aren't things that somebody else can just create. So because of the culture we live in, there's certain things that are outside of our control when it comes to content creation. Some
Yep.
people might just be a better writer. Some people might have a better story to tell than
Yep.
somebody else. You
Mm.
know, I had a recent post that went viral talking about how I went into $100,000 worth of debt. And the post on the day that I paid it off, I wrote a note and it went viral. Well, you can't just make that up. Like, I had to go through having paid off $100,000 worth of debt in order to have a post about right going $100,000 in debt go viral. So there's certain components of our experience that you can't replicate if we're just starting our journey today. So yeah, there's just so much that goes into it. I think, like you said, just focusing on providing value is one of the just fundamental things that I think we need to focus on.
Yep, absolutely. Because if everybody just focus on virality, then because there's there's a bit of difference between focusing on virality and focusing on value, right? It seems like because variety is about yourself, right? Providing value is more towards focusing about your audience. So I think
Yeah,
that's something that we should take away from this small little talk.
totally. And like just on that same point, that was one of my big lessons from my first product. When I created those 5 products, I had zero market validation. I didn't know if anybody wanted those products. I created what I thought was good. I created what I thought was cool.
Yep.
Now, what I do when I create something is I'm just looking at what my audience is telling me that they want. The questions that I'm getting asked on live is in my DMs and the comments. the posts that I see, if I write posts on 5 different topics and one topic gets way more content than the other, or in my welcome emails, like email 2 in most of my email sequences is getting feedback from what people are looking for, what their struggles are. I use those insights to create resources.
Yep.
So I try and just solve very specific problems with a simple solution. That is how my product creation process is now. So, like you said, it's focused on my audience, it's focused on service as opposed to not focused on me. I'm not creating what I want to create. That difference is huge.
Yep. In one of the live with one of the contributors, I remember I mentioned that a lot of times, especially the newbie creators, they'll be blinded by their own product because their whole mind is like, this is the ultimate product that I'm creating.
Yeah.
This because it's mine, and then so they are very blinded, and then they focus too much on the product itself. Then they spend months creating it, think of the email sequence, welcome sequence, and then upsell sequence, and then after that when they launch it, zero sales.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I hate seeing it. It's so much easier to just like ask if people want something before you create it. And I run paid ads for a living. So I work with a lot of people that create products that nobody asked for and then they don't sell. And then people get upset. They're like, why isn't this selling? We need better ads. We need to target a better audience. And it's like, we need a product that the market wants. Like,
Yes, correct.
like if we're trying to sell, like I had a client that wasn't familiar with AI, but they were selling how to get your book published through traditional authorship.
Okay.
And I'm like, do you guys know, like, you're familiar with like self publishing on Amazon and they weren't. And it's like, you're familiar with like AI and they hadn't even used AI. And I'm like, there's a big, like, we need to fix this because there's these technologies that almost make your service not needed anymore.
Yep.
And because you aren't aware of them, you can't speak to the differences and the nuances. I still think there's a need for hard copy books, but we need to be able to tell somebody why they should traditionally publish and not self publish. What's the difference? Why would I go through that process when I can have it in my hand, 5 minutes filling out a form and I got the book in my hand the next day, self publishing on Amazon?
Yep.
Like there's people selling those courses. And if you're like, here's my $10,000 course on how to get your book published, and your competitor is selling a $17 course on Udemy on how to do the same thing, it's like, well, it's going to be difficult to sell. So it's like we got to have an understanding of what people are looking for, what's going on with the market. And
Yeah.
we got to be in it, doing it, and getting experience to be able to do those things.
And to make it even worse, someone might offer it free for as a lead magnet.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's the crazy world we live in now.
Yeah. All right. So I want to bring you back to the this very interesting question that I have for you. The part where you say even if we copy and paste the Google's blueprint, we can't copy paste the result. Uh, so I mean I fully agree with this statement, right? So I think what I want to fish out from you is um, if looking back, what would you copy and paste from? Because they have this. If we look at all the influencers, big names out there, they always tell us about their whole process. They tell us about their journey. Um, they tell us how they come up with their first product, second product, third product. What's the thought process? What was the consideration back then? But but if we look at the whole thing as a journey, what do you think is the most important thing that we should learn from these people?
I think the biggest thing that I want people to learn is that these marketing messages are used to persuade us and sell us something.
Yep.
Plain and simple. They have there's a reason that they're making it sound too good to be true.
Yep.
And it's marketing manipulation. I don't agree with it. It's very against my values now. So I really, and I still fall into it now and again because it's persuasive and it works. But when we see messages like, I made $300,000 last year, here's exactly how I did it. Here's how you can do it too. I saw one recently. It was by Matt Gray, who's somebody who I respect, but I was like, you need to check your ghostwriter on your headlines for your podcasts because I don't believe it's true. Because it was one, I believe it was a YouTube video, and it said, follow this process and you will gain 468,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way you can promise that. You can't say that if I follow your process that that's the result I'm going to get. There's too many factors. I remember a Twitter course that I took. It gave the process, and it said if you, I believe it was like one thread a week, 10 comments a day, and like one tweet a day for 6 months, and you'll have 10,000 followers. That didn't work for me. Like
Yep.
that didn't work for me. So it's these hooks and these headlines, they're persuasive because they're painting the picture of what we're trying to achieve and they're making it seem really easy. Just follow my blueprint and you will get the result. But
Just pay and follow my blueprint.
exactly, they're selling you something. That's the biggest thing. So the biggest thing that I think we need to understand is the process a lot of the time, the system is sound. Like just like Stefan's comment there, Matt Gray's content is very clickbaity. His content waterfall system is sound.
Yep.
If you're trying to build a content team and grow a brand across multiple platforms, understanding how he's going about doing it, one piece of content into like these multiple short form pieces of content, and then this becomes a carousel, this becomes a short form video, you post that across these platforms. The system works. The result is probably not going to be what Matt Gray has. I can almost guarantee it. I would rather you prove me wrong than
There's no way.
guarantee that it's going to happen. So the fundamentals we can always take something away from. We just have to have the self-awareness to understand that the claims they're making are biased. And the claims that they're making are used as clickbait to get us to buy, purchase, watch, read, whatever it is. So if we can view the content through that lens, I think it's good. But we just have to be aware. So there's a lot of people that I don't follow anymore because they don't like the message. I saw an ad recently and it said, this is the $12 million blueprint with no Facebook ads, no lead magnets. And I'm like, come on. So you're telling me that you made $12 million without running ads? I'm like, you obviously had a massive audience. And if I don't have that massive audience, I'm probably not going to make $12 million. Like, come on. So very similar to how my journey started reading Expert Secrets and going through the ClickFunnels community. Very simple. You want to sell a $5,000 coaching program, you run Facebook ads to a webinar funnel, you get them to book a sales call. On the sales call, you sell them a $5,000 to $10,000 program. That's the system. I've ran a lot of Facebook ads for myself. None of them worked. I've ran a lot of webinars. None of them worked. I've ran ads to webinars that had 0 people show up for myself and my wife's business. The blueprint that works for a lot of people. It's how Russell Brunson built ClickFunnels. He
Yep.
ran a live webinar every Thursday for a year, created $1 million business. I followed the blueprint. It didn't work for me.
Yep.
We can copy and paste what they're doing. We just have to understand that our journey is going to be our own. And a lot of times, the promise of what they're telling us we're going to get causes us to follow a system that just isn't a system that's going to work for us. So maybe I don't want to do sales calls, but because he told me that this is the system I need to follow to get this result, I adopt that system and then I end up getting burnt out. So let's say I'm a solo creator and I follow Matt Gray's waterfall content system And then it's so much. Like if you looked at his charts and
Yes.
graphs of like, there's so much going on. But if that's what I think I need to do because he's telling me that that's how I get 468,000 followers, I'm going to try it because that's what I have to do. But there's so many other ways to get to our outcome. We need to set our own version of success and understand that all of these blueprints can work. It's not trying to follow somebody else's, it's creating our own blueprint that's aligned with like our values and our version of success.
Yeah. I think I can really agree with you on this because a lot of my uh, some of my customers they always ask, "Oh, Anthony, how do you earn 10K, 15K a month?" I say I can I I write about it. You can go to my newsletter and see my entire process. My entire I write step by step what did I do, but then the that's not the problem because the problem is you can follow exactly what I do, even name your product exactly the way I name it, and you won't get the same result because I can't even tell you how at which point what is the trigger that made me sell this product immediately. I only know that when I start selling this, I learn how I sell it and I continue and build on it. But then there's no everyone has a different journey.
Yep.
Right. So I think it's very important that for those of you who are in here with us, is that while we can read about a person's journey and we understand their considerations, their thought processes and stuff like that, there's a huge uh, the other side of story, which is your own context, your own circumstances, your own even your own product, your skill sets, what you do, what you like to do, what you don't like to do. Because sometimes I also link it to a concept called ikigai, right? Because like what you say earlier on, uh, Russell Brunson keeps talking about webinars and stuff like that. But webinar is not something I'm interested in. I feel dreadful doing webinars,
Exactly.
right? So we must take what is good for us and apply it into our own system, our own values and behaviors, and then we have to make we have to turn whatever is others, learn whatever is important to us, and then make it our own. I think that's very very important.
So true. Yeah, that's very, very well said.
Yeah, and I think so what do you do after the $325?
Oh man. Um, there's been many iterations since then. Since that time, I've probably created and launched over a dozen courses, coaching programs, memberships. So it's taken a lot of different shapes. I went through a period of time as a business coach for fitness professionals. My wife and I ran a membership together. I helped my wife grow one of her coaching businesses and a certification business. I started to get very heavy into Facebook ads and contract out to agencies and start working directly with creators, helping them grow their coaching programs. I would say that my journey has evolved through a process of learning and obtaining skills to fill the gaps of the clients that I was working with. So, for example, when I was mentoring fitness professionals and I saw that people, they literally had no audience, so they couldn't sell anything. So I was like, okay, well, how do we build an audience? I was like, okay, let's Facebook ads is a solution to be able to get in front of an audience. So then I learned kind of started to dive into the world of Facebook ads and taking courses and starting to offer that as services as I started to get better. And then it's like, okay, well, there's this world of funnels and all of these different funnels. So okay, and I started to develop my knowledge there. And then I really started to over the years, I've just kind of flowed between things. And I was like, okay, we've got these funnels, we've got these ads. I was like, the offer and the copy really is a determining factor between a winner and a loser. So then I started to take courses on copywriting, starting to get better on offer design, what creates differentiation in the market. So I just really started to kind of stack one skill on top of another, on top of another. And along the way, building these skills, using them for myself and my wife's business, as well as consulting and offering these services to other businesses along the way. And then I would say over the last probably 4 years is when I really started to get pulled into the world of content creators. I came very much from the direct response marketing, run an ad, generate a sale, use a funnel, send emails, to this world of seeing people like Justin Welsh who are making millions of dollars as a solopreneur, and all they're doing is posting content on LinkedIn with low ticket products, no sales calls, no communities, no crazy funnels, no ads. Then starting to really do a whole lot of research into personal branding. I researched people like Logan Paul, people like Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, really digging into people. When you see somebody like The Rock and you go, okay, well, he's a celebrity, but it's like he was a wrestler for like 16 to 20 years before he even became an actor. And then he was an actor for many years building his audience. And it's like, well, he had kind of like joint venture, because as he was doing movies, the movies are running ads, and that's building his personal brand. And as he amassed this following, he leveraged that audience and brand into creating Terramana tequila and his energy drink and buying the XFL. And then we would see this with, Conor McGregor using his brand to create and launch products. Mr. Beast, I would see these podcasters I was looking up to, but they were on like episode 800. I would see these bloggers that had written 2,000 blog posts. I started to take courses on brand building, kind of like MBA style courses, and just really starting to look at like research that's been done by people like Les Binet and Peter Field, researching sales activation versus brand building campaigns in like TV and advertising, and really starting to go, okay, there's really something to be said about this brand building side of it. So that's when I started to pull myself into more of this content creation side of things. That's what led me initially to Substack. But that was just the next layer of the skills of that I'm building. And that's really what my journey has just been, like this slow experimentation, fail, keep going, try stuff, fail, learn, try stuff, fail. And, all of these experiences have led me to where I am today. I try and share as much of my experience as I can of burnout and all of these things. Now I really try to take a step back, because in my pursuit of success over the last nearly 2 decades, I've chased and achieved almost every single thing that I thought would get me success, from working less to becoming a digital nomad to running my own business to creating and selling digital products to running coaching groups and masterminds to making $10,000 a month to making $40,000 a month. And none of those things really gave me any sense of value and purpose, to where I am now when I kind of released my manifesto of kind of the mission I want to lead, and pulling away from, these stereotypical and societal definitions of success, that we always have to be doing more, that our value is defined by how much money we make, how often we work. That's now what I really am trying to do, is share that we can do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
We can create our own blueprint. We can center ourselves in our business. We don't have to make 10K, 20K, 2K. We don't even have to run our own business. Success is defined by us, not society. Society is always going to be trying to tell us to do more, because that's how society thrives. That's how capitalism works.
Yep.
If we aren't feeding the machine doesn't work. And that's why we're constantly being pulled into it. That's why personal growth is such an imperative part of this journey. So my mission has really come down to, I have this wealth of knowledge, and I'm trying to distill it all down to like the fundamental principles that I think take to grow a business, but really trying to help people take back agency over how they're doing it and why they're doing it, And allowing people to kind of slow down and kind of build on their own terms is really what I'm trying to anchor myself into now. And not because less is more and slow is fast, but because I think we should feel good doing what we're doing because we can hit all of the milestones. And if all that does is just push the goalpost further and we still feel less than, we're still seeking validation from achieving these external goals, I think that we're never going to be able to achieve what we're trying to achieve and feel through those external goals. So I'm trying to re-anchor that in for people throughout this kind of phase in my business. So it's a lot of shifting of messaging and things like that.
I think maybe you can share with us. I know we have exceeded a little bit of our plan time, but then I think there's a couple of more questions I want to dig
Yeah, sure.
further. It's like um that there's this very common message that everybody's always talking about is that don't give up, right? And then we need to maybe you want to share with us because there's a huge difference between don't give up and pivoting to something else, right? And then when do you know when you need to give up and pivot to something else? Or when do you know that you must never give up and then persevere and carry on?
Oh yeah, I think that's the $1,000,000 question, really. I agree. I think that there's a difference. It's the same word. Like you can quit something in a positive way or you can quit something in a negative way. You can quit something that's no longer serving you, like an unhealthy relationship or posting to a platform that you're not getting any reach and it's stressing you out.
Yeah. Or in this case, a product that we are trying to push
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
then
Like you might
you see
have,
those
maybe you
things.
have ten products and you're trying to sell one that isn't working.
Yeah.
I talk to businesses a lot about this. I'm like, which one of your SKUs or which one of your products generates the most sales? Dedicate more of your energy to selling that one and not the rest of them. So those are like strategic and positive things. But when it comes to the other side, I I don't think that I can give a quantifiable answer. I think it's very qualitative. I think it's very gut based, intuitive based when it comes to pivoting and making big decisions. I've made a lot of big decisions in my life that would be defined as quitting, but I think I'm a very big believer in like existentialism when it comes to philosophy. And I think we define the meaning of our experiences. So quitting and failure can be interpreted in a multitude of ways. But I've closed down businesses and sought new businesses. I shut down my agency and became a personal trainer for a number of years. I opened a gym. I closed a gym. I became a business coach. I started to run ads. I now became a content creator. Those are massive career shifts. I'm also at a point in my life where I'm looking at making another really big shift that I haven't made publicly with like dropping an entire line of business that I do. Those are things that I don't take lightly. I spend a lot of time reflecting, introspection. I spend a lot of time trying to understand what I'm trying to create, where I'm trying to go, the life that I'm trying to cultivate. And I never make these big decisions rashly. I try and remove as much emotion out of them as I can. I try and not make them when I'm in a state of overwhelm because in those states, it's like, quit everything. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, okay, that's probably not the best decision. I don't like to put myself in like a state of overwhelm and anxiety. So the whole like burn the boats, quit to put this pressure on yourself to take quick action, that's never really worked for me because I'm not motivated by financial success. So trying to put myself in a position where I need to make a lot of money quickly to pay the bills has never been something that's personally worked for me. That might work for somebody else. That's where I think the personal development side of the entrepreneurial journey is so important. Business is like a personal growth journey at the root of it because our business can only grow and thrive as much as we personally are growing and thriving. So things like coaches, life coaches, friends you can lean on to have difficult conversations about business, therapy if that's what suits you. I'm currently looking at trying to find a men's group, and I can't find one, so I'm thinking of like starting a men's circle of my own of like depression and anxiety and overwhelm are like a real part of this journey, but nobody talks about it because we're too busy talking about how to get 468,000 followers because that's the
Yep.
identity we're trying to lean into. So when it comes to these big decisions, there's just a lot of it is sitting, reflecting, slowing down to like drop the stuff that's just occupying our mind so that we can actually think and be clear. So I don't have a definitive answer because I think it's so individual and so contextual. It's a decision or a question I've been asked more than once, but usually it's a gut feeling. And then usually it's like a systematic process of like, how do I make this happen? So if I want to, I had an agency contract that generated me over $10,000 a month, just like one client, and I walked away from it. But, it was a discussion with my wife, is this okay? At what time is this going to work for our life? What am I going to do? I made that decision. I walked away from that contract and I didn't have anything lined up in terms of work, but I had made the commitment that if I don't replace X percentage of that income by, I believe it was like 1 or 2 months, that I was just going to go out and just get like a regular 9 to 5 job. So like, I like to ensure that I have a plan when it comes to making those big decisions. My wife and I closed the business that cost us $100,000 to close it. We took us 7 years to pay that off. So I've made a lot of big decisions, but a lot of it is based off of feeling. And it's difficult to try and communicate that to somebody else on like when is the right time to make that decision because only you are going to know that. But I think it's very important to be very conscious and considerate of those decisions.
Yep. I think the uh, for you guys that's listening in, I think it's very important to understand all the sharing that Linda has just did, and then because I'm asking this because if we bring back to the first digital dollar project, um and if we compare to someone who is earning consistently, it's easy for someone to say don't give up if he is already earning money,
Yep.
as compared to someone who has been trying for maybe for the past 6 months and haven't earned a single cent, to say don't give up, bro. It doesn't work that way.
Yep.
So I think which is why the it's so important for me to keep sharing this first digital dollar project with you guys, is that we must understand that there's a difference between someone who really earning and someone who has not earned, and we really want to help those who haven't hit their first sale to understand that while we always say don't give up, don't give up, like what I say, I hear you, that this portion that you mentioned, we should have an internal contract with ourselves, right? You say if we don't hit this by then, we must do this. I think that is very important,
Hmm.
right? Rather than you just bite the bullet and then just carry on and then earn $0 for the next 1 years.
Yeah. And something I'd like to just add on to that is there's no shame in making decisions that go counter to what people in the industry are doing. Working a job is perfectly fine. There is nothing inherently morally superior about being an entrepreneur than working a 9 to 5 as an employee. There just isn't. But there's a lot of this narrative around you need agency and control and autonomy, or else, whatever the headline is. We see those YouTube videos all the time. But like my wife is a perfect example. She was an entrepreneur. She ran a coaching program. She was making very good money, living very healthily. She was doing over 10K a month. She closed that entire business down while it was successful to just pursue work that she was more called towards. She went back to school for 3 years, got her master's, and she's now works as a psychologist. There's nothing inherently wrong with making these big pivots. We see so many people wanting to leave the 9 to 5 to pursue entrepreneurship. There's nothing wrong with, I have a friend of mine, he works a regular 9 to 5 job. He works in security. He works on some like nuclear power plant base now or something like that. He used to work as like a correctional officer, so he's like worked at a prison, and he loved his job. He loved the people. He loved going into work. He loved the security. He loved the paid vacation, the paid holidays, the pension, all of that stuff. He liked his job. But he also worked as like a personal, an online nutrition and training coach. So he would create nutrition plans and workout programs for people online. He charged like $150 a month. He could have charged double, triple that, but it was very interesting. And it's a great example because he had no interest in growing that because he liked his job. He didn't want to do it full time. He had no interest in just being this Instagram content machine and being an online coach full time. He liked the security and the camaraderie and connection he got from his actual job. And I think that's not talked about very often. There's nothing wrong with that. He just created these programs and worked with people that came to him based off his content. It was fun. It was light. It didn't stress him out. He had no intention of trying to do that full time because he liked his job. My wife was an entrepreneur. She left entrepreneurship. I've considered it at times. You know, there was a period of time in my life where I considered switching careers and becoming a software engineer. I think these conversations need to be normalized that if you're really struggling in this entrepreneurial space, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a job, even temporarily, even if it's a season, even if it's like 2 years and then you relaunch your online business or you pivot. I also think that that transition of working with someone or for someone is often some of the best and most valuable experience we can gain. So like if you, let's say, want to be a ghostwriter and you get a job as a writer or even as like a contractor for a ghostwriting agency, but you're not technically doing it yourself with your own offers, that is probably giving you the knowledge, the skill acquisition, the experience to be able to one day go do it yourself.
Yep.
But there's a lot of things that come with entrepreneurship that not everybody wants. You know, it's very lonely. It's very isolating to just be here behind the camera, be in your office all day. I moved to a new city. I've been here 2 years. I genuinely don't have a physical single person that I can go for coffee with in the city. That's hard. It's also, there's all of this aspect of like administrative work, filing your taxes, you know, checking your email, creating all the products. Not everybody wants to do those things. I love entrepreneurship, but I don't think it's for everyone. So when it comes to earning your first dollar online, I think it's the capability of everyone. But I think it's just at the same time, it's like really make sure that this is an aligned decision for us. And making your first dollar online doesn't mean you need to like burn the boats, go all in and like, you know, go do this. It's like you could, but like we're not going to be Jeff Bezos, but follow what is passionate about because I love the work that I do. I love jumping on calls like this. So I, for myself, am no longer in pursuit of money. And I understand that I say that from a position of privilege that, you know, I understand I'm a white male living in Canada and I make enough money that I can support my family, but I'm not trying to run ads, run $10,000 coaching programs and try and make as much money as humanly possible. I would rather stay consistent or make less and amplify the life that I live.
Yep. And just to add on, I whenever my friends ask me, oh, by the way, I do have people to drink coffee with, so that's
That's good. That's awesome.
right. So when my friends asking me, oh, what's your definition? Actually, what's your definition of success? I say, my definition of success is having enough.
Yep. I think that's a beautiful definition of it because it puts the onus back on the own person to define what enough is.
Yeah, because I think the 20,000, 50,000 per month is over. overused in the social media space.
Oh, and we could do an entire live on it, but I've sat behind the scenes of a lot of businesses doing 30, 50, 100, $150,000 a month, and you would be surprised how little of that they actually take home because of
Yeah.
how high their expenses are.
Yes. Or I mean, because like you said, you share about ads. I think many people are burning tons and tons of money through ads. Okay, but anyway, we can talk about that in another life, right? Okay, but before we go, because I think I dragged too much of your time. The last question I always ask all the contributor is for those of the viewers who have not earned their first dollar or is finding it difficult to consistently earn their money online. What's your advice for them?
If you're looking to earn your first dollar online, I think it's very important to understand the fundamental components of what that requires, which is having something to offer and having one single person with a problem that you can solve. We don't need to do anything fancy, anything flashy. It can be as simple as having a direct conversation with somebody that's following you, asking them what their problem is, and offering them a solution to that problem. I think look first at the unique skill set you have and find somebody that skill set is something that they struggle with. Simplify it as much as you possibly can. Something to sell, someone to sell it to. You don't need a funnel. You don't need a big audience. You just need a single person. So we just need to really simplify it and understand that we're just looking for positive forward momentum.
Very good, very good. And I want to add is the best way to create the offer is to ask your audience.
100%. Yeah.
All
Never
right.
guessed.
Yes. Don't guess and then don't be blinded by your own product. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. And then I think I'm having a very good discussion with you. That's why I actually extended my
It's
my
all right. I had a call right after this, but they canceled, so I was fine to go over.
all right. Okay, but anyway, for those of you who join us, and halfway or throughout the whole entire life, do subscribe to Landon's letters, and I find it very, he's sometimes he's very much aligned with what I personally believe in as well, and I think which is why when I started this project, he's one of the first few person I actually approached. So thank you for joining us. Please do subscribe to Landon's letters and Solopreneur Code as well. And then within the next 24 hours, I will push out this recording. And then thank you so much once again. Thank you, everybody. We'll end the live session. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye
Ciao.
bye.
Bye.